Vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaya. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining the class. We are now studying Sri Guru Stotram. As I told you in the beginning of the first class, that this stotram, this hymn, forms a part of Skanda Purana. In Skanda Purana, there are certain verses that are grouped into, actually it is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati, his spouse. So both have been conversing. Parvati is asking the questions and Shiva is answering. So in that only this comes. So we have studied that first stotra, that is the first verse, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu studied. And second also we studied Akhanda Mandala Karam. Today we are passing on to the third verse, which Malavika can chant it. Wait. Yes, you can do.
Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Yes, thank you, Isabella, for your nice chanting. You see, in France, when I went to the center, there all the devotees sit together and chant the entire Guru Stotra. So once I sat there and heard, so that exactly as it is written, it has been chanted. And so the verse says, Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So word by word, if you see, as I told you, these verses have got 4 legs. In each leg has got 8 syllables. So you should remember that. So there are 4 legs are there, and each leg has got 8 syllables. So total 32 syllables are there in one shloka. This verse is called shloka. So each shloka contains 32 syllables of 2 lines of 4 legs. So each leg we say, let us see the first leg. Ajnana Timiran Dasya. So how many words are here? Ajnana is the one word. Then Timira is another word. Then Andasya, third word. Sometimes in one leg you may have 4 words or 3 words. Here it is 3 words are there. Ajnana, Timira, Andasya. Then what is the second leg? Jnananjana Shalakaya. Jnana, Anjana, Shalakaya. So when you combine Jnana and Anjana, Jnana ends it with A. Anjana starts with A. So A plus A, according to Sanskrit grammar, is A. So it is Jnananjana, Jnananjana, not Jnana Anjana. If you separate it, Jnana Anjana it comes. But if you add it, Jnananjana, that Na has to be little extended. So it is A and A. So that A comes there. Then Shalakaya is the third word. And in the third leg of the second line, Chakshu Unmilitam Yena. Here also 3 words are there. Chakshu is one word. And then Unmilitam another word. Third word is Yena. The same way, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. In the fourth leg, you got 4 words. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. 4 words are there. So actually, the verses are not dependent upon number of words. They are purely dependent upon the number of syllables that you have. So that is the beauty of these Sanskrit verses. So, Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena. Many places you will find the both are combined together. Chakshur Unmilitam. This combined as Chakshur Unmilitam. It is written there. So sometimes you will find it is combined. So the spelling is written Chakshur Unmilitam Yena. That is how it is pronounced also. But then for our understanding, we separate the two words. Chakshuhu is one word. Chakshu, and there is a visarga. If you have got some knowledge of Sanskrit, then you understand what is visarga. Visarga is two dots, one below the other. It's like a colon. In English, colon we say. Just like that, visarga. So this visarga is used, chakshuhu, and then unmilitam. So there are two separate words. So chakshu unmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Let us see word by word meaning. Ajnana means ignorance. The opposite of jnana. What is jnana? Jnana is knowledge. So the opposite is ajnana, ignorance. Timira. Timira means cataract or yes, thin a veil. That is called timira. An obstruction. Then andasya. Andasya means is timira. Of course, it is timira is said to be the darkness also. Darkness also because we cannot see clearly in darkness. So that is also a nature of a screen to the eyes. In darkness we cannot see. That's why timira. Andasya. Then jnana. Jnana means knowledge. Anjana. Anjana is translated in English as collyrium. You know, there is a beautiful words we must have heard, Niranjan. Niranjan is the word, Niranjanananda, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. His name was Niranjan. Niranjan. So this also is said, so that this Anjan means collyrium, that which is put on the eyes. So that's called Anjan. So in the Indian languages, that when the girls or ladies put some eye paint or whatever it is called,
Kajal.
it is called Anjana. What is it called?
Kajal. Kajol.
Kajal, Swamiji.
Kajal,
Kajal.
yes, Kajal, yes, Kajal. His name is Kajal. So that Kajal, if you put that, they say that eye, it gives not only the beauty part of it, apart from the beauty part, it gives the power of the eye also is increased, they say. So that is also one of the important, that's why for children, whether it is a male child or female child, they put this Anjan, so that the child, say, visual capacity increases. So that Anjana. Shalakaya. Shalakaya is a word. The word is Shalaka. Shalaka is the word. Shalaka means instrument. So Shalakaya means by the instrument. So that's why the Shalakaya, like a Ramaya, that word first class I told you, that it's so Ramaya means by Rama, Ramayana, or through Rama. Then like that, but Shalakaya means, Shalaka is the word, Shalakaya means through that instrument. So here, then Chakshu means eyes. So clearly, there is some sort of an example of eye has been brought here. So in this verse, what is that? We shall understand the meaning later. Chakshu, eyes. Unmilitam. Unmilitam means that opening of the eyes. Militam means clearly seeing. Unmilitam means that which is closed, you open it. So this un, how it has come in the un word, actually it is not un. If you separate this unmilitam, you have to write it in two words which are called ut plus militam. Ut is the correct word, Sanskrit word. That ut becomes un when ma is added next to it. So these are all called in Sanskrit sandhi rules, these conjoining rules. When two words are conjoined together, then there are certain rules to be followed. So this ta, half ta, becomes half na when ma comes on it. Likewise, there are several rules are there. So here, ut plus militam is unmilitam. Yena, by which. Tasmai, to that. Shri, auspicious. Guru, to my preceptor. Namaha, I bow down. So every sentence, every verse or every shloka, you see that Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha is a common strain. So to that Guru I bow down is a common thing. Now in each verse, it is said who is that Guru or what type of that Guru, what are his qualifications, how you should consider that Guru, etc., is told. So in this verse, the third verse, Agyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I bow down to that Guru. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. What type of Guru? Which Guru you bow down? Then he said, Yena. By whom? Yena here is by whom. By whom? Previous verse we saw, by whom tat padam darshitam yena. In the second verse you will find tat padam darshitam yena. By whom I have seen that state of existence or the post or the goal, whatever you may have. So the padam has got different contextual meanings. So here padam means a position which is the highest position where you reach in your spiritual life. So that padam, by whom I could see. Now this darshitam word comes in several verses you will find darshitam word comes. So darshitam means by whom I have seen. So now this seeing means naturally the eyes must come. See, one organ cannot do the work of the another sense organs. We have got 5 sense organs. So eyes work is to see, ears work to hear. Likewise, the tongue's work is to taste. Likewise, all the 5 organs have got a particular process of working. So eyes have to see. Now he's taking the eyes itself as an example in the third verse. So what he says is, Yena, by whom chakshuhu unmilitam, by whom my eyes are opened. Simple translation. By whom my eyes are opened. Now to that Guru, I bow down. No doubt. To that Guru, I bow down. But then, who is that Guru? By whom my eyes are opened. Now the question comes here. The eyes are, where were eyes closed? All these years before meeting the Guru, were your eyes closed? No, our eyes were open. We could go around and we do all the studies. We have seen the world. We have been touring everywhere. So our eyes were open. But what is the meaning here to say that my Guru, after meeting my Guru, my eyes have been opened? So you can easily understand this is not regarding the physical eyes the Shishya is telling. The disciple is not talking about the physical eyes. So there must be some other eyes. And that some other eyes also can get closed, can get opened. So far, those eyes have been remaining closed to me. So that is what he means. So now he comes to that idea. What is that type of eyes that has been kept closed so far before I met my Guru? So he says, Agyana Timirandasya. I had my eyes, the eyes, not the physical eyes. some type of eyes I had. But what those eyes were? The eyes were filled with timira andasya. The timira, that is the screen of darkness. So how is this screen of darkness come? So I have been blinded by the darkness. So long till I met my Guru, I was in a state of ignorance. What is that darkness that he refers here? The darkness he compares with ajnana. So ajnana is ignorance. As I told you, opposite of jnana, knowledge. So what is knowledge and what is ajnana? These two also we must know. But anyway, those things will come later. But here he says very clearly, he has opened those eyes which have been closed so far. That eyes, he has opened it. He has made a cataract surgery. You know, cataract surgery is a very ancient type of surgery. In the 6th century, before the Christ, in India, one Sushruta was there. Sushruta is a great name. And he used to make a lot of surgeries. So the medical knowledge was so highly developed at that time, they could make cataract surgery. If a person feels that I am unable to see, my eyes are dim, like that you say, then which doctor you will go? You will not go to a cardiologist. If there is any problem with the eyes, you will go to an ophthalmologist. So in ophthalmology, this cataract is a big problem. In Ranchi, we used to take our eye surgeons to the camps in the rural areas and do at a time 100, 200 cataract operations. And you know, when the people get the operation upon, and then 1 week, they completely closed with a bandage, we close the eyes. And then after 1 week, their eyes are open and we give that specs. And when they put on the specs, you can see 80-year-old man, 75-year-old lady, and they are all coming and telling, oh, Swamiji, now I am able to see so clearly. The lady would, with all in exuberance, she'll say, I can see my grandchild, I can see clearly. Like that she comes and tells me. So like that, I've seen people how they are so happy. If you can see, you know, one of the greatest disability of the body is this blindness. You can have any type of disability. God forbid, no one should have any disability. But if I can have any disability, the worst disability that I can have is the blindness. So eye is a very important organ for us. So you can understand that if one day, if I cannot see, you know, when I went for repair of my specs, that man said 2-3 days it will take. Then I was wondering then how I am going to read, how I am going to see properly. Then immediately the devotee who was with me purchased one reading glass, and this is the reading glass that I am using. So this reading glass, I put it on, immediately things are clear. Before this, I will not be able to read properly. So this eyes has to be, this particularly cataract is nothing but a simple type of screen that comes and sits over the iris. So it actually stops the vision. Now, how do you take it out? So in those ancient days, when these poems were written, that Sushruta method of treatment was being followed. What they do, they have a shalaka. Shalaka means a long instrument. With that instrument, there is no anesthesia, mind you, at that time. And with that, they will open the eyes and hold with 2 fingers, and then they will remove the cataract. And that was a very painful, definitely a painful operation. Today, cataract is nothing. Today, even laser cataract operations have come. You will not even know. In 5 minutes, the operation is done. So such a wonderful advancement we have done in medical science. But you see, the shalakaya is used for that. So naturally, this is an example of something to be exemplified. So the example is called upamana. You can write down the word upamana. Upamana. Upamana means example. And every time when you use an example, the example must qualify something, must tell you why the example has come here. So what is that idea that you want to say by giving an example? That idea is called upameya. Upameya. So upameya and upamana, these two are used by the poets, and everywhere you find. In Ramakrishna's life, they say that he was full of upamana. That means full of examples. Every idea that he gives, any spiritual idea, he will immediately bring an example to make us understand. So this upamana, upameya, this is one of the wonderful way of our utilizing the idea to get across. So here we are able to clearly see that by an instrument, one can open the eyes, or one can remove that screen that has fallen on my eyes, is the upamana, is an example. So what is that which is exemplifying? So that exemplifying idea is upameya. So here in this verse, what is upameya? So I'm going to place this question to the audience now. Can you get the idea? What is the idea that is being told here as an idea that is which is exemplified with an example? You can raise your hand. Yes, Caroline.
That it's very precise. The instrument has to be very precise. It's not just a general medicine.
Yes, you are right. Instrument is precise, must be, so that it can remove the screen that has come over the eyes. But that is an example. So what is that idea? This example is now fitted in. Yes, Juma?
Removing the ignorance, the darkness of ignorance.
Yes, correct.
Is upamana.
Removing the darkness of ignorance. What is the screen that has come over my eyes?
Ignorance.
My eyes are now, has got a screen. That screen is the darkness of ignorance, ajnana. Now, how do you remove the darkness of ignorance which has come upon me as a screen? As the eye specialist will remove with an instrument, and he will make an operation. In the same way, Guru is doing an operation to me. So what is the instrument Guru is using here? He must also have got some instrument, to remove the blindness. So what is that instrument he is using?
Gyan.
Yes?
Instructions.
Pardon?
Instructions and knowledge.
Yes, instruction, knowledge, yes, knowledge. That is the right word. Jnana. Jnana. Jnana is knowledge. So he is giving instruction. He is giving knowledge to us. By means of knowledge, which is an instrument, he is removing the darkness of ignorance that has come upon my eyes. So we can clearly understand, number one, these eyes are not physical eyes. These eyes are called spiritual eyes. Or you can say everyone has got two eyes, plus in middle also we have got one eye, third eye. So the third eye, which is called jnana. So that is what he means. So he gives jnana. That's why one has to go to Guru and take initiation. Why he says? Guru gives diksha. Diksha is the word we use for initiation. So what is diksha? Diksha is diyate jnanam. He gives jnanam. He gives knowledge. And shriyate papam. He removes the papa, these sins of us. So this jnanam, jnananjana shalakaya. So what is this collyrium he applies on the eyes? The collyrium is applied, is that knowledge. So that knowledge, that removes the darkness of ignorance from my eyes, to that Guru I bow down. So that is how the whole thing comes. Anyone can paraphrase what I have been telling now? Yes? Yes, Dermot? Can you paraphrase?
You remove ignorance with knowledge. That's the Guru does that.
Yes, yes. So knowledge removes the ignorance.
Yes, knowledge is the instrument.
Yes.
To remove ignorance, the darkness of ignorance that blinkers or blinds.
Exactly. So to that, so by one, what happens is when the screen is removed, when that blindness screen that has come upon my eyes is removed, then I look through my eyes. At that time, Guru is not necessary. You see, there is a stage where Sri Ramakrishna says, Guru will not be with you. Your own mind will become your Guru, he says. That you must clearly understand that in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, many places Sri Ramakrishna tells, Guru is only for helping you to a particular level, he comes in your life. But then he won't be there all the time with you. So at that time, what will happen? If the knowledge that he has given has removed the darkness of ignorance, then what happens? Your own mind becomes Guru. Then you will be able to see clearly. That's why it's called Unmilitam. Simply word, the Militam also could have been given. Militam also you are seeing. But Unmilitam, that Ut, that meaning comes, you are seeing in a higher level. At a higher level you see. So what you see this world as a mere animate world, inanimate world, this world is moving, unmoving like that, that no more you are able to see. When the jnana is given to you, you are able to see this world as Brahman, as God.
Yeah.
So what is so long is really God, we are thinking not as ungod, or what we are thinking, this is not God. So God is the knowledge. One who sees oneness has attained knowledge. Sri Ramakrishna says, this oneness, the entire universe, I am one with it. So that is the knowledge. So if you separate it and then see differences, nana vida, differences if you see, it is called ajnana. So what is ajnana? Ajnana is seeing multiplicity. What is jnana? Jnana is seeing oneness. So that is what is here. To that Guru who is taking me to that high state of realization, to that Guru I bow down. So now let us go to the fourth verse. Malavika can chant.
Sthavaram jangamam vyaptam yena kritsnam characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Thank you. So here also you find, you see the fourth verse says, Stavaram jangamam vyaptam yena krishnam characharam tat padam darshitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So here in this verse also, the first leg contains three words, Stavaram jangamam vyaptam. And the next leg, Yena Krishnam Chara Charam. Here actually four words are there. Chara Charam is one word they have written. But if you separate it, then Chara Achara. Chara acharam. It's called chara acharam. So the 4 words are there. The third leg, tat padam darshitam yena. Tat padam darshit, 4 words are there. And last is 4 words, tasmai sri gurave namaha. Even though there are 4 words and 3 words, as I told you, every leg has got 8 syllables. Now, let us go to the word stavaram, jangamam, vyaptam, yena krishnam characharam. Here you see, stavaram, what is the meaning of stavaram? Stavaram means that which is stationed at one place. Sta, it comes from the root word sta. Sta means to stay, to remain, to stay at one place. So that is called stavaram. Those are all which are staying at one place. You can give me an example. Say, for instance, plants, trees, they stay in one place. If you put the seed in one place, from that place only the tree comes and the tree stays there. The tree doesn't walk around. So it's called stavaram. Like that, you can see the mountains. They don't fly here and there. They stay in one place. So whatever is there, they're called. Among these 3, among this type of differences in stavaram, say for instance, a plant doesn't move, a mountain doesn't move. Is there any difference between these 2?
There
Can
is
you think of any difference between these 2?
Live and inanimate.
One is
One is-
alive. Yeah.
What is that?
One is alive, life and non and inanimate.
Yes, that's a better word instead of life. Yes, one is animate, another is inanimate.
Yeah.
Animation, is a beautiful word nowadays in computer graphics. It has come in a very, very, very much. So those who do computer animations, they know that. Animation means that makes you lively, it makes you actions. So a tree, when it grows, it has got branches, it has flowers. So so many animations are being done in one tree. But in a mountain, you don't see that. A mountain is like a hill, it's just staying there like a stone. So there are 2 things, even in the stavaram, you got 2 types of beings are there. Now, according to Hindu idea, that even though it is inanimate, even though it seems to be a stone only, but all is permeated with life force. So the life force is there in everything. That cannot be denied. Now, that is the philosophy. Now, it says, yena stavaram jangamam. Jangamam also, you see, jangamam means that which is inanimate. Stavaram, jangamam. You saw the difference. Vyaptam. Vyaptam means that which is permeating, pervading. Vyaptam. Yena krishnam characharam. Yena means by which. By which vyaptam. Vyaptam means pervading. By which pervading or through which it is pervading. Stavaram jangamam. Through the animate and inanimate, that which is pervading. Yes.
so Jangamam is the inanimate things and Stavaram is animate things, is it?
Animate thing, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Stavaram, though it is stationed in one place, both are stationed in one place. So in Characharam, you will find this. Chara and Acharam, in that this Stavaram and Jangamam both belong to the group of Chara. Achara. Achara means non-moving. So both are non-moving, no doubt. But one has got animation, another has got no animation.
Sorry, but Jangamam, does it not mean moving things?
Jangamam is moving, yes.
Yes.
I'm telling about Stavaram.
Oh.
In Characharam,
No,
relating to Stavaram,
Jhumari asked, both animate, inanimate, both will belong to Stabara. Within Sthavara, you have both types, like mountains and trees.
No. Stavaram is that which is stationed in one place. Okay. Now it can move or not move. Charam, acharam. That acharam comes here because Stavaram cannot move. In Jangamam, yes, so you see charam and acharam is there both moving and unmoving. So in Jangamam also the same thing, it is moving is there. One is non-moving, another is moving.
But inanimate. Jangamam is inanimate, has no life. Maharaj?
Yes, Jangamam is, yes.
Inanimate, has no life,
Inanimate.
but it can move or it can remain stationary.
It cannot move.
Oh, Jangamam also cannot move.
Now, Jangamam means, it is, Jangamam means that which is, Jang pakalyan bolte hai na Hindi mein.
Ah, okay, okay.
You know,
Okay. Rusty,
what is that?
rusted.
Rusted.
Okay.
Maharaj, but sorry.
Yes.
Here, the meaning written in Swami Gambhiranandaji's book,
Yes, what is this?
Jangamam is Gotishil Prani. And also we learned in Bangla, Sthabar and Jangam are the opposite words. Sthabar is something that cannot move and Jangam
Yes.
is one that can move.
Yes, Stavaram means that cannot move.
And Jangam,
Jangamam means opposite to that.
exactly, yeah.
Now, in this category, there are two categories are there. In each, Chara and Achara.
Mhm.
So in Stavara that is not moving, in which category you will put moving or unmoving, Charam and Acharam?
Achara.
Acharam only.
Yeah.
And in Jangamam, in which category it will come? It will come in Charam.
Yeah.
Because it is moving. Correct. So Stavaram Jangamam. So Yene Krishnam Characharam. Krishnam means in whole. That means all. All is the word that we can use it for simplifying it. So, or the whole, WHOLE. So the whole moving and unmoving objects of the world can be divided into two categories. One is Thavara, another is Jangama. Okay? Now, Tat Padam Darshitam Yena, that means there is some type of a position, a post or a goal is there where you reach, where you will see that what is that being pervading everything, that is not told. By something it is pervaded. So that position or that point is told to me, is informed to me by giving jnana. To that Guru, I bow down. What is the meaning? Gambhiranji has written Characharam.
সপ্রাণ এবং অপ্রাণ সচল ও অচল সমস্ত বস্তু যাহার দ্বারা ব্যাপ্ত তৎস্বরূপ যিনি দর্শন করাইয়াছেন সেই শ্রী গুরুকে নমস্কার।
So that means that is chol or achol ইনি বেদ করছেন আর এদিকে animate inanimate.
সপ্রাণ অপ্রাণ।
Okay. This Characharam word has already come. We already taken up in the second verse and the fourth verse also will come. And in another one verse also it will come, Characharam. This is a very beautiful word, Characharam, because how do you classify the entire world, you see? As moving, unmoving, if you say, that contains everything in this world. You can put everything inside. So all, instead of telling all, you can give a subtle categorization of this is moving, that is unmoving. So in this world, there are two types of objects are there. One is moving. We all come under moving. So we all come under Jangamam, not under Stavaram, because we are moving. And there are also, in Stavaram, yes. So likewise, the two categories that he has brought is very nice. To that, Tat padam darshitam. So who made it possible for me to realize tat padam darshitam? One who has shown me the way, one who has shown me the ideal. That ideal, what is that ideal? To realize that ideal is that which is pervading the entire universe, whether it is moving or unmoving, whether it is stationary or it is animate or it is inanimate. So that is what, that one, to that Guru, I bow down. Okay? Any questions here? Somebody has sent a chat. Can you see what is? If there is no question in the chat, we can proceed to the next verse.
Swami, could you say something about pervading?
Yes.
Does
This vyaptam, you see, vyapya, it is coming from a beautiful word in vyaptam. Vyaptam is that which is pervaded. It's the past tense, pervaded, or that is which is being pervaded.
being
Also can be said
pervaded?
vyaptam. So vyaptam. So it is said that the very word Vishnu, the word Vishnu has come from the fact that that power is pervading everything. So it says Vyaptatvat Vishnu. That is how the Sanskrit grammarians give the answer or the meaning of the word Vishnu. Vishnu means that which is pervading, not that with the crown on his head and then Shankha Chakra, etc. is holding, not that Vishnu. Here, the philosophy, Vishnu means that force or that entity X, whatever you call it, that force which is pervading everything is called Vishnu. Now, this pervading is something, yes.
Is it like that an individual's consciousness is lit up or pervaded by, not by our individuality as we're inclined to think, that we sort of are self-actualizing, but actually we're pervaded by a force. Our mind is pervaded or activated or vitalized by Brahman. Is that the idea?
Yes, pervaded means that is the idea that it is in existence within you.
Yes.
For instance, in the whole body, where is my mind? If you ask, we'll say that here it is there, but here brain is there. Where is my mind? If I touch here, I feel the sensation. If I touch here, I feel the sensation. So anywhere in the body, if I can feel, I can bring my mind to it. We say,
but
so
the
mind is pervading the whole body.
Yes, but the mind itself, is that pervaded? That it's not a personal, that it's
no, mind also is an object like body.
Yes.
So mind also needs to be pervaded by something else.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
So what is that pervaded?
That it's not mine personally.
We call consciousness.
I'm not personally pervading my mind. I'm not personally activating my mind.
Correct.
That is, yes, that's.
So there is something that evokes this mind, that moves this mind, that makes it function. What is that? So that like that, the question goes on back and back and back. Finally, man comes to realize there is some such force, a divine energy is there, which is called Atman. That Atman is the behind of all these variations. So that Atman is pervading the whole thing. Like that in Advaita Vedanta, we come to the conclusion. So that pervasion means that which is there inside. And because of that only, whatever action you are doing is able to do. Otherwise, without its absence or because it is absent, you can't do anything. So that pervasion is there everywhere.
So it's it's sort of ironic then, because the people may often inquire into themselves because of something personal, but then the inquiry is going to end in something that's beyond. It's not a personal thing. It's
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, the inquiry is going to end something which beyond our intellectual concepts. So all the intellectual concepts will be broken one by one by asking the question, who am I?
Yeah.
Which was Ramana Maharshi used to teach this.
Yes.
If
Yes.
anybody comes and asks, tells some problem to him, he will say, who am I?
Mhm.
Did you ask who am I? Who is doing
Yes.
this? Somebody came to Ramana Maharshi and told him that certain man is troubling me. Is troubling me. What type of troubling he is giving you? So that man said to him that he is jealous of me, he is doing this thing, that thing, etc. But then Ramana Maharshi said, look, you said that man is troubling you, but who are you that? Who is that you? So find out who are you. Then the inquiry leads like that, slowly, who am I? Am I this body? Then my body should be everything for me, but it is not so. The body sometimes goes into sleeps. Sometimes I forget the whole body. If I am doing a good sleep, I do not know existence of my body. Then where was the body? Then how do you say that you are the body when you do not know your body? And then you say, it is my body, just like you are telling, my cup. I say, this is my cup. This is, the cup is different, I am different. My house, I say, my house is different, I am different. My spouse is different, I am different. So how can you say my body, which can be your or you? It cannot be. So your body is different from you. So like that, slowly in the path of knowledge, which is called Jnana Yoga, man is raised level by level by level. So he finally understands this body is not me. Then all the 5 organs, he thinks, no, these 5 organs I am not. Then behind that, something is working. So what is that working? That also you will find. So this prana, yes.
If this conception is beyond the human mind, how can jnana or knowledge illuminate it or reveal it?
How can knowledge?
How can knowledge, if the conception of Brahman is beyond the human mind,
Yes.
how can knowledge reveal it or illuminate it if it's inconceivable?
Yes. See, this mind, it can only conceive certain ideas to certain extent only. It cannot grasp that which is beyond it. So mind has got certain limitations. So they say your mind is limited to certain functions. So you are sitting there. You may be sitting in UK, but you are talking to me in Ireland. But it doesn't mean that you have transported yourself here. No, we are all different places we are sitting. But then this mind has come to me. See, you are expressing your mind to me. I'm able to understand your mind. So there is a connection. In this way, if you see that mind can go to some level after which it cannot pass on. So the mind has to come back. They say, Yatra vacho nivartante tadhama paramam mama. So in Krishna says in Gita, where the words and connected to the words thoughts, they return, that place is my place, he says. So I am seated there. So from that point of view, this mind is pervaded by the consciousness. If the consciousness is not there, the mind will not be able to work. So that is the basis. On that mind is working. And mind is trying to find out. So the jnana gives, the guru comes and tells you that you see what you are thinking as the world is not the real world. The reality and unreality of the world, the mind can grasp. But the mind has to lose itself if it wants to go beyond that. So that is called samadhi. In samadhi, mind is completely lost. It is no more there. In meditation, it is there because there is a meditator and there is a thing that is meditated upon. But in samadhi, the mind is completely lost. So that is the thing Guru is going to take us step by step. Yes. Yes, Sam, you are asking something? I saw somebody raising his hand. Okay. Yes. If there is no question here, then we can go to the next verse. This Vyaptam, which Dermot asked, that is this pervasion. This is how it is pervading, is being repeated in the next verse also. Chid Rupena Parivyaptam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tat Padam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So it is very easy. The last leg is Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. To that Guru I bow down. Now the question is asking, which Guru or what type of Guru? Who is Tat Padam Darshitam Yena? Who is going to show me a position? Yes? Did you ask anything? Oh, your hand was like that. Okay. Okay. Tat Padam Darshitam.
Sorry,
But
sir.
Yes. Who is going to show me that? Tat means that, I told you. That Padam, that situation or that position. So what is that position? Is, explained now. Chid Rupena Parivyaptam. Here there are three words are there. Chid. Chid is written C-H-I-D. Actually, it is C-H-I-T. Chit. Chit is the word, mind you. Now, the Rupena, because Ra comes, if Ta and Ra join together, it becomes the. That's why it becomes Chid Rupena. So while pronunciation, we should not say Chit Rupena. If you separate the words, then you can say Chit Rupena. But if you conjointly, when you chant it, in chanting time, you cannot say Chit Rupena. You have to say Chid Rupena. So the Ta becomes the. That one must be careful about that. Chid Rupena Parivyaptam. This earlier verse, the word used was Vyaptam. And in this verse, the word used is Parivyaptam. So what is this Pari? This Pari is a beautiful, prefix in Sanskrit language. So the Pari can be used with many other places also. Many other words it can be used. Gives the meaning of entirety. That is the meaning it gives. Entirety. So Pari. So there is a circle, if you put like that, it's called Paridhi. The entire situation, entire place, Paridhi. So we say that. So that entire radius of a place is called Paridhi. In mathematics, we use this word. In vernacular, as we use this word. So Pari means entirety. Parivyaptam, entire, pervading entirely is called Parivyaptam. That means it is pervading, you said in the previous verse, and you asked the right question. What is the meaning of this pervading? Now this pervading, how it is pervaded? The question comes, in what way it is pervaded? Like prana. Prana is air. The power, the force in the air is called prana shakti. Prana. Like prana? No. It is not pervaded like prana. Then how it is pervaded? It is pervaded like Chid Rupena. Chid Rupena. So, as a consciousness pervades the worlds, parivyatam, entirely pervading by means of consciousness. So there are a lot of papers are there, research papers are there, what is consciousness and how the consciousness can be defined, etc., etc. Generally, we understand for our limited knowledge, consciousness means that which we are aware of. That is what we think of. I am conscious of the outer world. I am conscious of this thing, that thing, like that we say. But here, consciousness with capital C, when we write, is called Chaitanya. Again, the Chaitanya word comes from Chit. So, in Upanishads, the Chit word is used in, and it is translated into English as intelligence. So, say Sat Chit Anandam. That is the definition of Brahman. If you can define it by words, then the three words can be used. Sat, Chit, Anandam. Sat means existence absolute. Chit means intelligence absolute or knowledge absolute. And Ananda means bliss absolute. So these three, Chit, the Chit word that comes there, the Chit is the consciousness, is the basis thing for life. So life comes out of consciousness. So there are questions, whether consciousness comes first or life comes first. So Vedanta says the consciousness is the first to come out. And from that only the whole life comes. The prana comes. Prana means the force that moves us, that force comes. So all these things come after the consciousness arrival. But does consciousness arrival means what? It was not there and it came? Then Vedanta says no. Consciousness was ever present. So, Chidrupena, in the process of consciousness, it is parivyatam, it is pervading entirely. What it is pervading? Sacharacharam, again, moving and unmoving. But then, moving and unmoving, when you say, already he has explained what is moving and unmoving, like Stavaram Jangamam, he said in one place, and then in another place he said, Akhanda Mandalakaram, infinite space. He said, so what is moving and unmoving? It has already explained. But then here, he explains in another way. Just a minute. In another way, he says that how do we understand this moving and unmoving? And it is parivyatam, entirely. That means, he says, Trilokyam Sacharacharam. Trilokyam is an adjective for Sacharacharam. Is moving and unmoving in the three worlds. If it is something that pervades only one world, is it so? No. Is it pervading only the nether world that is down below us? No. Is it pervading only the higher regions? No. All the three worlds are pervaded. So the three worlds, this Trilokya, it's called Triloka. Trilokya means of the three lokas. Sacharacharam of the three lokas. So what are the three lokas? Can anyone tell us? Three lokas.
One is Bhuloka, where they are
Bhuloka.
residing. One is Padalam, Padala Loka, Netherlands.
What is that?
Padalam,
Pataloka.
Patala Loka. And one is above us.
Above us. So what is that called?
Swargloka.
Swarloka. Yes.
Swargloka.
Bhur, Bhuva, Swar, we say that. So there are several types of classifications are done for the three lokas. Actually, the Purana speaks of 14 lokas. There are many people ask, after my death, where I am going. So after your death, you will go into one of these 14 lokas. Already one loka is there. Of the 14 lokas, one loka is Bhuloka, where you are there. So when my body falls away, so my subtle body is moving to which loka? So the question is raised. So one Puran says it will reach that loka where it has got the password to open the lock of that loka. Otherwise, you can't enter into any loka. So about the bhumi, that is this earth, about this, there are other lokas are there. 6 lokas are there. 6 plus 1 bhumi is called 7. And then down below, up to Atala, Vitala, Patala, like that it goes. That is 7 lokas are there. So in any of the lokas, you may go according to your that deserving, which loka you deserve. For that, you require a password. What is that password? Password is in this birth, what you do, your karma and your bhavana. What you think. What you do and what you think. These two combined together make a password to go to a particular loka. So you may go into Sualoka or Maharloka or Janaloka or Tapoloka. Any loka you can go if you are fit for that. Or if you have done wrong things in this world, you have been doing bad things to the people. If you are doing, you are having evil thoughts in your mind, then you will go to the downside loka, nether world as it's called. So Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Patala, like that it comes. So these 7 lokas are down. So you can go to any loka. So the Puranas warn us, why not you make your life in the present world as most beautiful, most wonderful, most loving to everyone. So when we express our love to everyone, then we are fitting ourselves to go to a higher loka, not to a lower loka. So this is a concept, that brings the morality in stable in our minds. Suppose this is not there. Suppose these lokas were not there, the concept was not there. What would have happened is ordinary human beings would not be able to keep up themselves on a moral path. That's why this was introduced. The Puranas have come to us, for that only, to make us follow a particular path. So sometimes they give very tremendous descriptions. So here it says Trilokyam. Trilokyam means 3 lokas. 3 lokas, 1 loka that I am staying, and the higher loka and the lower loka. You can separate. So the higher loka. So they say the heavens and hells and the world. That way they separated 3 lokas. Anyway, that which is pervading all the 3 lokas is called Parivyaptam. Not in 1 loka, in all the 3 lokas, in entirety. That one Guru is going to show me. Darshitam yena, by whom I am going to see. To that Guru I bow down. Yes?
Maharaj, one question. The shlok starts like this as Chid Rupena. So Chid over here is consciousness, comes from the word Chid.
Consciousness.
So
Yes.
Rupena is what? Consciousness as projected.
No, Rupena means by means of. Here Rupa is form. The main word is Rupa.
Yeah.
Rupena means by means of Rupa. So Rupa is a form. Now this form is not exactly some type of form that we can see. It is here Rupena is used in the literary sense of that by means of, in that meaning.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, then we take leave. We shall see you next week. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Durga Durga to everyone, and a happy Bengali New Year today to everyone. I didn't see my cat today. Vahini?
Thank you.
Okay.
She's
Thank you,
sleeping,
Swami.
Swamiji. She's sleeping.
Okay.
The dogs are hearing her talk.
Happy New Year, Swamiji.
Happy New Year to all of you all.
Happy New
Worship.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Pranam Maharaj. Thank you, everybody. I'm ending the session now. So goodbye till next week.
Bye.
Pranam Maharaj.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye.